At approximately 11:40 last night, Air Canada Flight 8646, operated by Jazz, collided with the Port Authority aircraft rescue and firefighting vehicle on runway 4. The plane carried 72 passengers and 4 crew. Sadly, the 2 pilots are confirmed deceased, and notifications are being made by Air Canada's care team at this time.
The executive director of New York City Port Authority with that update just about an hour ago that at least 2 are dead after a passenger plane collided with a fire truck on a runway at New York's LaGuardia Airport. Police say the aircraft, a Jazz Aviation flight operating on behalf of Air Canada, departed from Montreal Pierre Elliott Trudeau International Airport with 72 passengers and 4 crew members on board. The plane struck a Port Authority fire truck around 11:45 p.m. last night while finishing its landing sequence. Both pilots were killed when the aircraft's nose was crushed on impact. Multiple passengers and crew were taken to hospitals, some with serious injuries. The airport remains closed with no flights in or out of LaGuardia until at least 2 p.m. this afternoon as the NTSB leads the investigation. Officials say the truck had been cleared by air traffic control to cross the runway while responding to a separate issue involving a United Airlines flight.
LaGuardia Tower requesting to cross 4 at Delta.
Truck 1 and Company, cross 4 at Delta.
Truck 1 and Company crossing 4 at Delta.
Frontier 4195 to stop there, please. Stop, truck 1, stop. Stop, truck 1, stop. Stop, truck 1, stop. Delta 2603, go around, runway heading 2000. Jet 646. Jet 646, I see you collide with a vehicle there, just hold position. I know you can't move. The vehicle's there responding to you now.
The Port Authority of New York and New Jersey says the sequence of events remains under investigation. With us, we have the co-host of our 9 a.m. hour, staff writer at The Atlantic, Jonathan Lemire, columnist and associate editor at The Washington Post, David Ignatius, and managing editor at The Bulwark, Sam Stein. Will be getting a full wrap of what's going on with Iran in just a moment. And our reporters on this, MS Now senior transportation reporter Josh Einiger and MS Now investigative reporter Mark Santilla live at LaGuardia Airport. Mark, we'll start with you. What's happening on the ground there?
So we're inside Terminal B right now, and as you said, on a typical Monday morning at LaGuardia, this terminal would be bustling. But right now, there's a ground stop. I'm going to step out, take a live look right now at the board. This is some of the flights that were scheduled for today. You can see every single flight at this point canceled right now. Passengers inside Terminal B here. Some are taking advantage of some of the benches, sleeping on the floor. At this point, no flights are coming in or out of LaGuardia. Again, this is all because there's an active investigation happening. The Air Canada jet was carrying 72 passengers and 4 crew members. Officials say the Port Authority fire truck had 2 officers inside. They say 2 of the pilots of the plane, the 2 pilots of the plane were killed. 41 passengers and crew were taken to area hospitals here in New York City. 32 people have been released. Of those, of the 9 people who are still hospitalized, officials say some of the injuries are very serious. Again, this is an active investigation. The NTSB is taking the lead. You can see the heavy damage on video. You can see the heavy damage to the nose of that Air Canada jet. Officials say it was just before midnight. The Port Authority fire truck was actually responding to a call for help from another plane. It was a United Airlines plane that requested help. The fire truck was crossing runway 4, and that's when it collided with the Air Canada jet that was making its landing at that time. The jet took off from Montreal, and it was landing here in New York City at LaGuardia Airport. Again, behind me, you can see it is very quiet at LaGuardia right now. That's because there's a ground stop. There are no flights going in or out of LaGuardia. It is expected to be like this. They're expected to have no flights whatsoever. They're hoping to get the airport opened by at least 2 o'clock this afternoon. But Kathy Garcia, who leads Port Authority, said that's the hope right now. The earliest would be 2 o'clock this afternoon. It could be later as NTSB investigators look for just what caused this deadly collision. Back to you.
All right, Mark Santia, thank you. Josh Einiger, that's the big question that you're looking into. What do you know so far?
Well, Mika, when you talk about the sequence of events that the Port Authority started to refer to but backed off because, of course, the NTSB has to really do months of work to figure out really all the things that led to this. But let's start with this other aircraft incident that Mark was talking about. It's a United flight that aborted its takeoff and reported that it had either an odor or some kind of fume situation going on board the flight. So the controller, importantly, the same controller dealing with that flight, starts the process of getting them help. On the other runway, they're doing landings, and there is a flight cleared for landing. It's Air Canada Flight 8646 from Montreal, and it is cleared to land on runway 4 at LaGuardia. It's coming in. It's the runway that takes planes right over the Grand Central Parkway, if you know that part of New York City. At that moment, the fire truck, which is stationed on the other side of that runway that's being used for arrivals, is dispatched to go to the United plane. And air traffic control recordings show that the fire truck operator called for clearance to cross the runway and was given clearance to cross the runway by the controller who had cleared the Air Canada flight to land. And, a split second after that, you heard on the recording that you opened with, Mika, the controller almost frantically shouting at the fire truck to stop, but it was obviously too late. So there are a lot of questions that come from this, of course. The first thing, of course, has to do with the victims. So many people whose lives have been changed forever because of this. But a lot of questions are going to be raised about workload, which are questions that came up a little more than a year ago after the DCA midair collision, where the NTSB said one of the issues there was that the controller at the time had too much on his plate and too much to do. And it certainly sounds tonight like one of the issues that they're going to be looking at is the question of how staffing is accomplished in towers, which is something they've been talking about for years and came up just about a month and a half ago when they unveiled their final report on that disaster at DCA. So here we have another disaster at LaGuardia, one of the busiest airports in the country, the busiest airspace perhaps on the planet, now in the middle of another horrible situation on an American airport.